Today we're going to talk about Elon Musk's fatal mistake with DOGE, and I've got 3 interviews. I speak with Congressman Jamie Raskin about his own feud with Elon and Trump's broader overreach. Senator Brian Schatz joins to discuss his plan to stall Trump's progress, and I interview Senator Chris Murphy about Trump's effort to distract us with his flooding the zone approach. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen, and you're watching No Lie. So the talking point being trotted out right now about Elon is that if you support getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse, then you would support him and DOGE's mission. And it makes sense on its face. In fact, that's a mission that I agree with. But here's why what Elon is doing undermines his own stated goals. Think about where he started. Agencies like USAID and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Let's start with USAID. Probably helpful to begin with this point. The USAID Inspector General was investigating how Musk's SpaceX Starlink satellite terminals that were purchased with agency funds were used in Ukraine's war over Russia. So Elon was under investigation by the very agency that he immediately moved to dismantle. Already reads as a pretty massive conflict of interest. But let's get into the practical implications of that move. USAID costs about 0.5% of the federal budget. It offers essential life-saving programs around the world like clean water and HIV prevention, already unto themselves worth it. But it's not just that. Just as importantly, from a geopolitical perspective, it is a tool for American soft power. When you hand out medicine or food with an American flag slapped on the label, you buy goodwill around the world. That is goodwill you can cash in on during conflicts, for favorable trade terms, for military or intelligence purposes, to build up alliances. So it's a win-win. It's doubly as beneficial. But by dismantling that agency, not only do we leave actual human beings hanging across the world, which will absolutely have real-life impacts on people who require medical care, who require water, who require food, but we also lose an inexpensive but effective tool for soft power. And guess what country is going to fill that void? China. They've got what's called a Belt and Road Initiative. That involves more than 150 countries and organizations. And when the U.S. moves out, by virtue of dismantling USAID, China moves in. That means that when it comes to trade, when it comes to alliances, when it comes to cooperation, when it comes to minerals, deference is paid not to the U.S., but to China. Does that seem like it's in our national interest? Not really, no. But you know whose interest that is in? Perhaps a billionaire who's invested a lot of time building up his portfolio in China. Tesla's Shanghai plant opened in 2019. It's the company's largest factory. It accounts for half of Tesla's global car production. So Elon has a vested interest in kowtowing to China. In other words, while dismantling USAID hurts America, it is a gift to the country that Elon stands to benefit from helping. And, by the way, it ends an investigation into his own possible corruption. Bad for America, good for Elon. Another example, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Elon tweeted, CFPB RIP. Now, I want to be clear about what it is the CFPB does. It literally exists to protect consumers from predatory banks and financial institutions. Its budget is about $800 million, but it's returned over $21 billion, with a B, to 205 million consumers so far. It sent 6.8 million consumer complaints to companies for response. 63 million unique visitors used their tool Ask CFPB. That's an online resource for answers to a variety of common financial questions. And the CFPB levied a historic $2 billion fine in one single enforcement action against Wells Fargo for mismanaging auto loans, mortgage loans, and deposit accounts. This agency, again, quite literally only exists to help consumers. The sole result of this move is that Americans will have no recourse when they get screwed over by a bank. $800 million in an annual budget for a $21 billion return. Are you kidding me? With the USAID example, at least I could figure out how Elon could derive some financial benefit. But this one? I don't even see the upside for him. It is a handout to predatory banks. There is no upgrade for anyone other than financial institutions that are looking to screw people over. And so look, again, getting back to the thesis of this thing, I am absolutely in favor of rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse. But when you start off by dismantling an agency that just so happens to be investigating you, an agency that costs barely anything, an agency that offers invaluable resources to the world, an agency that affords us major soft power benefits, and another agency whose entire purpose is to help victims of financial crimes, then the message that you're sending is that you're not actually serious about your own stated mission. That, like so much else that the Republicans do, is nice branding, but once you dig in an inch beneath the surface, there is nothing there. I mean, hell, the Pentagon has failed 7 audits in a row. 7 audits! You've got an agency that is the poster child for financial mismanagement, but you start off with the CFPB? That is why Elon's commission looks, sounds, and smells like a sham. Because thus far, the biggest beneficiary isn't working class Americans, it's not Trump's voters, it's not Americans more broadly, but rather Elon Musk himself. You don't get credit for rooting out abuse if your execution raises more questions than it answers. Next up are previews of my interviews with Jamie Raskin, Brian Schatz, and Chris Murphy. But just a quick reminder, you're watching my once-weekly video podcast, No Lie, with Brian Tyler Cohen. This is identical to my audio podcast. On this show, meaning just one show per week, there are sponsors. So here's a quick word from some sponsors, and then the interviews with Raskin, Schatz, and Murphy. No Lie is brought to you by Uplift Desk. So I do massages and chiropractic work every week for my failing body, but going to these appointments is really just a band-aid when it comes to my well-being. It's taking daily, even hourly opportunities to move my body that really does make the biggest difference. And this has only been made possible for me with this episode's sponsor, Uplift Desk. Uplift Desk is at the forefront of ergonomic solutions, promoting better posture and health through adjustable standing desks, which are designed to help you live a healthier lifestyle. And for me, just being able to stand and move throughout the day helps me focus and stay productive. I'm way more alert versus when I'm slumped over in a chair all day. Plus, they have all kinds of accessories and customization options so you can build the perfect workspace. I'm a particular fan of the added shelves for my monitors that give me the entire desk's real estate to use. And also, the desk itself is just so sleek, and I'm a sucker for design. Make this year yours by going to upliftdesk.com/BTC and use our code BTC to get 4 free accessories, same-day shipping, free returns, and an industry-leading 15-year warranty that covers your entire desk and an extra discount off your entire order. That's upliftdesk.com/BTC and use code BTC for a special offer. And it's only available at our link. Start 2025 right. Stand, move, thrive with Uplift Desk. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. So we often hear about red flags, but what if we focused on green flags? If you're not sure what they look like, therapy can help you identify green flags, actively practice them in your relationships, and embody green flag energy yourself. If we should be looking to do anything in this insane political environment, it is taking control over the things that we do have control over, and this would be a meaningful one. And look, as far as therapy goes, I'm a huge proponent. A lot of my friends do it, I do it, the stigma surrounding it is gone, and so why not invest in yourself and your mental health? You can be a little selfish this year and finally take care of you. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable and convenient, serving over 5 million people worldwide. You'll get access to a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists with a wide range of specialties. And you can easily switch therapists anytime at no extra cost to find the one that's perfect for you. Discover your relationship green flags with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/no-lie to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/no-lie. So as it relates to Elon, I know that the answer is that he can't do the things that he's doing, but the reality is, the practical reality is that he is doing them. So given that we're beyond the point where he and Trump are respecting the law, what is our recourse then here?
Well, we're going to have to fight them in every channel and social context and governmental arena that we can. We're going to fight them in subcommittees and in the committees of the House and of the Senate. We're going to fight them in court. There have already been several setbacks dealt to the administration in court. As you know, Donald Trump tried to impose a new birthright citizenship rule, basically taking millions of people who are United States citizens in the country and then making them into undocumented immigrants based on who their parents were. That was shut down by a Reagan-appointed judge. They're appealing it, but that's a win. As you know, they froze federal spending at the end of last week and over the weekend, completely nullifying congressional power over appropriations. That's a central power of the legislative branch of government, the power of the purse. Again, a United States District Court judge in the District of Columbia shut that down and enjoined it. And there were oral arguments on that yesterday that went very well for our side. So we are going to assert the Constitution, the rule of law, the civil service rules as a blockade against what they're doing at every turn, and public pressure, public vigilance about what's happening are going to be essential in this process.
It feels like there's nothing that we can do to prevent all of this stuff from happening. You've taken a different approach, and you have actually done something. Can you explain what you've done?
Well, I've placed a hold on all State Department nominees, and I don't want to exaggerate our power here. We lost the Senate 53-47, so eventually they will get all of their nominees. But this will, gum up the works and make it a little more difficult for them. I think we need to use whatever leverage we have, which over the next several weeks is pretty minimal, because when it comes to nominations, they have their majority, and I think we've seen with RFK Jr., with Tulsi Gabbard, with Kash Patel, but they're not going to block any of these nominees. They're just not. They're going to get their cabinet. After that, Democrats in the United States Senate are needed in order to enact a spending bill, in order to do any number of things. So it's one of those things where in the first month of any presidency, the legislative branch is way less relevant. Then there's a kind of recalibration of they're going to have to start to talk to us. And I think we intend to use our leverage. Now, I'm not here to preview exactly how we're going to use our leverage, but I think a couple of things have happened. There's been a disconnect, I think, with voters out there, people out there who want to see us fighting, sort of between are you fighting hard enough, and then sort of randomly tweeting out things that really would be ineffectual, right? And would have all the impact of like a sternly worded memo.
Right.
I mean, I've actually told my staff there are going to be exceptions, but like no more letters to Trump saying you shouldn't have done that, right?
It's the sir, excuse me, sir letters.
How dare he?
Yeah.
Look, he's doing it. But the other part of this is that I actually think the grassroots is waking up too. Like I've talked to a number of grassroots organizers, and the truth is, like on Inauguration Day, in Trump won, there was a mass movement against him. And that mass movement, in my view, still exists, but it was dormant, right? And so I remember being home in Honolulu, and one of the, and people sticking their head out the window, saying, go get him, that kind of thing. And for I would say the weeks after the election, that was not the vibe, right?
Yeah.
And once these executive actions started, the grassroots sort of started to sort of awake. And now they're appropriately putting pressure on their Democratic leaders to try to do more. And I'm going to try to do more.
So I want to turn your attention to a tweet that you posted that I think really perfectly encapsulated the moment that we're in right now. I'll put that on the screen right here. I have news for you. We aren't taking over Gaza, but the media and the chattering class will focus on it for a few days, and Trump will have succeeded in distracting everyone from the real story, the billionaires seizing government to steal from regular people. So we've seen this strategy before. And by the way, they're not shy about actually imposing this strategy. Steve Bannon calls it outright flooding the zone with shit, and that's what we're seeing at play right now. I mean, they're calling it the shock and awe campaign. They're freeing insurrectionists. They're signing executive orders. They're whatever they can do to basically scatter everybody's attention in 15 different directions is what they're doing right now. But to the exact point that you were making with your tweet, the billionaire seizing government to steal from regular people, can you explain what's happening right now as far as Elon Musk is concerned, wherein he's effectively running unaccountable to every different government agency with no oversight by anybody else in the executive branch, or even those in the legislative branch whose job is to jealously guard their own prerogatives?
Well, thanks for amplifying that post, because I've spent the last 24 hours avoiding reporters' questions here at the Capitol about Trump's comments on Gaza. Not because they don't have impact. I mean, no, we're not occupying or invading Gaza, but just saying that makes America less safe. But right now, we need to be laser focused on what is happening in the United States of America, because we are literally losing our democracy as we speak to the billionaires that are brazenly taking control of the government so that they can turn the government into a fountain of profit for themselves. So why does Elon Musk want to shut down USAID? Well, a couple of reasons. First, he makes a lot of money off of American foreign policy and off of his relationship with China. So he makes half his cars in China. He wants American foreign policy to be friendly to China. And a really nice gift to China is the erasure of USAID. This is the agency that essentially chases China around the world trying to reduce their influence. And now that it's gone, China can expand its influence and the amount of money that it makes off of.
And just digging into that for a second, they have basically a counter program. That's the Belt and Road Initiative. Is that correct? Where they basically try to imbue their own soft power across the world as kind of a counter to USAID. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a race that's underway right now. Who is going to control, the piping of the international economy, the highways, the information highways, the port infrastructure, the supply of critical minerals that are necessary for chips and batteries. In order to control that infrastructure, you've got to have governments all over the world that are willing to sell it to you. And USAID helps us create relationships with countries so that when they're selling a port, they don't automatically just go to China, that they at least let the United States make a bid. Now that USAID is gone off the playing field, the only place that those countries have to go for help confronting viruses or addressing a famine or economic development is China. And so China will be able to, build all of these relationships around the world. And then all of a sudden we'll wake up one day and the United States economy doesn't have access to the global economy because China owns it all. So when USAID steps off the playing field, China benefits. And I do not believe that that is coincidental to Elon Musk having a number of very open issues through his businesses with the Chinese government. They may be willing to do him some nice favors, given that Elon Musk has taken USAID off the playing field.
And of course, to watch the full interviews, click the thumbnails right here on the screen or check out the interviews playlist on my YouTube channel. You can also click the link on the screen to listen to the audio version of this episode. And of course, to see more of my content, the subscribe button's on the screen as well.